Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody who's watching, listening, I am Golf Love UK and I am coming into your ears, and I'm joined by my partner in crime, Pro Golf Critic. How are you?
Doing well. It's good to be back. I know we've it's been a little bit of time just because there's been a lot of traveling. Both of us have been in Florida for a little
Playing
bit.
golf together in Florida.
Like, oh yeah, for the first time. That was a lot of fun. You got a chance to meet my dad, which was
Yeah.
a cool thing too. So yeah. So it was a great time. But yeah, good to be back in
Should we
front of the
indulge? Should we
mic.
indulge and talk about ourselves? Could we talk about everyone else all the time and like all my parents and their ill health or deaths? Let's talk about something a bit more upbeat.
Yeah. You know what's
So
funny?
yeah, go on.
So many people they ask me about my golf game on Twitter. It's like really funny to me that people are actually like interested and like curious in it, curious about it. So I think there's enough people out there that want to hear about that stuff that it justifies us, talking a little bit about that. So
Well, let's go over. We won't do for 18 holes, three rounds, but I'll cover the first round where you didn't play. So for those that don't know, I've been going to Florida now nearly every year for 5 years. I've missed one. And me and my brother-in-law go over, family go over to Disney, do that sort of stuff, and we play golf, and it's been great. Played loads of courses in the Orlando area, and got some favourites, got some ones that I think are massively overrated. I'm not a huge fan of reunion courses. People have heard me moan about them before. I think they're good to look at, but I think they're not always in the best condition, and I think they're slow. 5.5 hour rounds, 5 hour 45 minutes, and it just does my head in. However, I talk very highly, and I normally often wear the pink one. This is a Nairn Scotland top. I often wear the Champions Gate International course, the one that Greg designed. Fantastic course. You get a chance to go to Florida, to Orlando. That's one of the top three courses, in my opinion. You should go play. Anyway, I played a course I never played before called Celebration, actually wearing the hat, and it was a lovely course. Really nice, really fun. But there's been rain in Florida when the pro says, listen, guys, if the ball goes near water, don't go and look for it. There are loads of gators around. You
yeah,
sorry?
yeah,
No. There are gators around. We had that like everywhere. Everywhere we went where there was water, don't go near the water. There are gators around. Because obviously all the gators have got moved through the hurricane and they're all in
yeah,
areas they shouldn't be.
yes.
But yeah, I had a great round there. My brother-in-law and I played with two surgeons. Lovely blokes, really nice time. And what I found so often in America, like the UK, at times we can be funny buggers. Like often, like people are happy to play. But I played in
Yeah,
the UK, maybe 1 in 10 where they really don't want you to join them. They're really gutted. Their two balls being invaded by another two ball. Never had
really.
that in
Oh,
America. Yeah, never had that in America. Everyone's always happy to chat
interesting.
and to talk. And anyway, lovely round. Not going to say too much, but I shot six over on the first day. It was absolutely superb. 6,300 yards, shot six over. Had the ball on a
Nice.
string. But there we are. Then it was you, me, Jerry, Foltz, and Alan played
Yeah.
at Claremont.
Oh, Claremont. Yeah, Claremont.
He used to be called Sanctuary. So anyone that played it before, it used to be called Sanctuary Golf Course, and now it's called the Grove at Claremont
Yep.
and Claremont National. It is a great course, isn't it? Because you don't like Florida
Yeah.
golf, but you loved it. Because as you said, this doesn't feel like Florida golf. You said it feels like Carolina golf with all the elevation and the different
Yeah,
undulations.
that's true. I mean, look, I have to be honest. Most people know that I have I can't even say a love-hate relationship. It's really a hate-hate relationship with Florida at this point. I lived in Florida for 4 years. My family lived in the Southeast. Obviously, I went to college in the Southeast. I'm just, I'm really not a fan of Bermuda grass. Like, it's something that like really bothers me on a variety of levels. And it could be because, I've been accused of being a coastal elite. I grew up in, in New York, obviously, live in California now. The grasses that we have in those two places are just much more superior to me. And I'm a big fan of turf. Like the turf conditions that you play on in various golf courses are really important to me. And it could be because I tend to take really big divots with my wedges. I get a little bit steep, and Bermuda grass just is not very conducive to that. So Look, in terms of Florida, so I have to grade everything on a curve when it comes to Florida golf because I'm going to be generally negative. That being said, I think Claremont was actually one of the better courses in Florida that I played. It was definitely it was an interesting challenge because you don't.
How good were the greens?
The greens were great. Elevation changes were pretty cool. Like it's very you just don't see it in Florida very often, and that area is like one of the highest points in the entire state. So it definitely has a lot more to the topography than most courses, and it was really interesting. It was a very hard course to play for the first time. I think
Oh
that
yeah,
we go back, we would play a lot better for sure.
yeah. I think you said you were 2 over, weren't you?
Yeah, it was like
You were 2 over front nine level back, right?
some. It was around that. It was probably. I felt like it was probably like a 75-ish. I want to
Yeah,
say like
I
there were a
shot.
couple. There were a hole or two that we obviously picked up because of we had already lost
Yeah,
lost the
I
hole, but yeah,
I can't believe it. I shot 11 over, which I should be very happy with. But I played 11 of the holes 2 under because I had 2 birdies
mm,
and 9 pars.
yeah.
Let's not talk about the other 7 holes. I think that I was already looking at a double and just picked up and didn't bother to putt out on that one hole. I was like, no,
Yeah.
I've had enough. I've had
Yeah,
enough.
there were a couple of those holes where just like you didn't really know where to hit it. So it was like, I mean,
Yeah,
you made a double, but if you play it again, you make a par or bogey. So,
like
you just gotta.
it was just such it was such an interesting course. Anyway, that was fantastic. Jerry's great fun to play with, but what a
Yeah.
clubhouse! Oh my god! So
Oh,
for those that don't know it, if you think about a clock face, okay, so think about a big clock face between 12 o'clock and 9 o'clock. You've got a really big clubhouse called the View. Great restaurant. It's got a really nice posh restaurant. It's got a nice sports bar inside, two separate areas. And around about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock is all the car park. Then 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock is an incredible Top Golf driving range, isn't it? With all the screens, absolutely amazing.
yeah.
You and I don't like off mats, but we have to accept mats these days. But
Yeah.
then from about 12 o'clock to about 3 o'clock on the clock face, you've got a couple of putting greens, you've got cornhole, you've got Connect Four, and then between that sort of area, that's the clubhouse and the path, the clubhouse is there and the range is here. They've got an amazing outdoor bar with a live music stage, and
Yeah.
and everyone was saying that like it's become the go-to place on a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And when we were leaving, we were joking. There were like 3 very attractive young girls turned up, and they're like 18, 19, 20. 4 or 5 lads, 18, 19, 20, turned up, good-looking lads. Like, and then as we're getting in the car, like driving in, were another group of people, like mid-20s, boys and girls, and not a golf club in sight. They
No,
were coming
that's
to you. They were coming to use the range and drink, and the live music was going to be later. Like,
yeah.
if you wanted to go to a golf club that's completely trying to become more accessible, the golf course is a serious test of golf, Jay. That's a
For
serious
sure.
test of golf. Like,
For sure.
even if we went back, we'd save a couple of shots, but you've still got to keep it pretty bloody tight. But they've
Right.
just opened up the whole club and the driving range with free clubs. So if you're playing on the
Yeah.
driving range, you don't have to hire clubs; you just pay for the balls. And it was
Yes.
amazing to see all these young girls and young boys. I say young, like I'm 80. They're like sort of 18 to like 23, weren't they? All
Yeah.
coming to have a drink, have a burger, play
Hmm.
golf. I loved it. I thought, what an
Yeah.
amazing way of bringing golf forward.
I think that's what that is about, is what I'm all about when it comes to getting more people into golf. Like I've known enough people that have started playing golf that have been completely turned off because of the environment, because of all the sort of logistical challenges that we have, particularly when it comes to accessibility and sort of all that stuff here in the United States. And I think that just like, and it's part of the reason why I love live golf so much, is because I've met enough people now to know that they are very turned on coming to a live event rather than some of the more traditional golf events that, like, you're not really as welcomed as like some of the other places. So when you do have a range, and you have like a sort of party area, and you have sort of music going, and even for the golf geeks, like the data geeks like I am, like if there's a driving range that has top tracer that allows me to look at my data, like I am obsessed with looking at my data when it comes to when it comes to distance, when it comes to variants of shots and things like that. Being able to play virtual golf, a lot of people have, know that I'm really really big on virtual golf too. These are things that are like really really important to me, and I think they're just like really cool things where you're able to get a variety of people together in sort of a communal area where golf is a part of it. A lot
and
of
a
people that haven't
variety
picked
of
up golf. Yeah.
and a variety
Yeah.
of people of interest. Like I
Yes.
joke about it, but I saw more girls between 18 and 23 and more boys from 18 and 23 in 8 minutes in that car park and the
Yeah.
last 5 minutes in the bar than I've
Yeah.
seen at my golf club, which is a great golf club, in 8 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's be honest, like when you have a communal area where there's young, attractive girls, the guys are going to be very close behind. Like that's just how it is almost everywhere. So yeah, I think it's a really cool vibe. Like I found a few of those here in the Bay Area. Top Golf is kind of a really big thing, and there's sort of competitors with Top Golf too, and you have Top Tracer ranges and stuff like that, and just like communal areas where you can get together and have a good time. So, and golf is part of that, and it's a great entry point.
So I know people might think we're being a bit self-indulgent on our trip, but I just looked at the clock. We spent 5 minutes actually talking about the benefits of trying to make golf more accessible.
Yeah,
And
yeah, it's
it's so good. Yeah, it's amazing. Let's touch on the last round, which was Hawks Landing. How would I review Hawks Landing? A very typical Florida golf course. Greens were in great condition. There were lots of areas,
course.
in my opinion. Well, you say that, but we did find 5 or 6 areas, quite large swaths that had been damaged by water that were not GUR, but were horrific on the fairway. That my tee shot, what hole was it? The tee shot on the 5th or 6th. I put it absolutely middle of the fairway, and I was in a bog. But I didn't have. I wasn't a bog. I was just in bare dust.
Just a little, yeah.
I didn't have standing water, so I couldn't take relief. But there's no way in the UK that's not going to be GUR. Like it's just, it was just so bad. Like, and that annoys me. They're expensive place to play. Like, just put a white dash around it. No one's going to judge you for it. We all understand these things happen, but don't penalise the player. It was a great chance to meet your dad and have a great time with your dad, who is. Honestly, he is mental, but in all the lovely ways. I absolutely love him. Like, I love the fact that at the end he's like, when you next come to Florida, whether Jay is here or not, we're still playing. I was like, yeah, 100% Mel, not 100%. Like,
that's the type of guy.
Absolutely love him.
Yeah,
I love him.
He's good. Yeah,
and could not have been more welcoming to me and my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law, we left, and I was like, he's a legend.
Yeah, for better or for worse, he's definitely, growing up around him was always a really, it was always an interesting experience. For those that don't know, my dad's always been a performer. He's actually a musician, played around the world with a lot of really big name acts. One of his claims to fame, I don't know if I've ever mentioned on this podcast, but one of his claims to fame, everybody can sort of go and go on YouTube and look at it. He is in the Uptown Girl music video with Billy Joel, which is one of the biggest songs of all time. Like, it's got billions of views on YouTube probably. So yeah, check it out. He's the limo driver. You get a feel for sort of who he is. He's kind of a really big presence. He's got a loud, booming voice.
It's when he turned up, and I was like, "You're a big man," and he went, "Oh, hello." I literally greeted him from behind by going, "You're a big man," and he turned around and was like, "Oh, hey, how are you?" He's like 6'4" and like built like in a brick outhouse. He's massive.
Oh, 6'7". No, he's 6'7". No, he's yeah. I mean, he was probably 6'8". My youth. And as age has gotten to him, he's probably a little short now. But no, he's always been a really big presence. Like, I think he's one that, like, as a kid, people were always really intimidated by my dad because he is such a big guy and has a loud voice. But anybody that gets to know him knows he's just like one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. So
I just realised we didn't touch very quickly for 30 seconds on Alan's putting day 2. So my brother, so Jerry Folt said the immortal words to my brother-in-law, which he will never unhear or never stop repeating. Even Cam Smith couldn't be better than you today. My brother-in-law made so in 18 holes, he made 2 putts from outside of 30 foot and 4 putts from between 20 and 25 foot. Just net.
That was the difference in the match. Like it was a very close match.
Of course, it effing was, Jay. He made like 150 foot of putts.
It was great.
In a 2-ball better ball.
Yeah. It was tough to watch, but it was like even with that, it was a great time. Like
it was that crippler. What hole was that? I can't remember. It was that par 4 over the water, and I've sunk like an 18-footer for par, and he was farting around lining up. We're playing ready golf, and he hit a 28-footer, maybe 26-footer. To steal the hole. I'm like, because he had a shot. I'm like, I want to jump in that lake. I rolled one dead centre to get a par. He's got a shot on the hole. I don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's on 26, 28 foot dead centre.
No, it was definitely an impressive performance. Like I'm very rarely impressed by putting or just because I've seen so many crazy things on the golf course. But no, it was really impressive.
When Jerry says it's an all-time display of putting, and that man's commentating on virtually all golf,
he's seen it. He's seen it all. So it was a great time.
It was nice to see him go back to normal the next day. Yeah, missing 6 footers.
All evens out. Yeah, it all evens out over the course of time. So yeah,
Jerry's a great golfer. Just 64 years of age, 275 yards down the middle with a driver every time. Like it's just irritating, isn't it? Like he missed one fairway all day. It's just gets a bit much in the end, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that was probably just because he hadn't played that course in a really long time and kind of forgot that there was one area where he kind of had to carry it a little farther, and he tried to lay back, and then he kind of went in the junk. But other than that, like it was like it was a really impressive performance. Like they were a tough team to beat. Like when you're driving it well and putting it well, like that's just no matter who you're playing against, any competition, like it's just a tough thing to beat. So
and then obviously your dad's a good fun golf to play with. Alan played all right. I played okay. I think I shot 12 over on that third day again with a couple of birdies and some pars, but yeah, a couple too many doubles. But I just want to have this clear now for everybody. You are a fantastic striker of the ball. Now, I did say so. We're on the 13th hole. On the 13th hole, or is it the 12th? I can't remember. You lay up and there's water. And I said to Jay, as all 4 of us just stood there by the buggies, and Jay's turned it on. And I said to Jay, and it wasn't to get into your head because we're on the same team. Right. And I said, mate, do you ever get fed up and missing the middle of the centre of a club? No, I'm not exaggerating, guys. Jay's weakness, I don't think you're the world's best putter, and I don't think you're the world's best chipper. But your iron play and your driving is phenomenal. I said to you, you don't ever get a bit of bottom groovy. You don't ever hit like a groove and a half too high. You just hit the centre of the club every time. You went, no. And you said, no. He said, you said to me, in more words, my ball striking is my strength. And you shanked to the next one into water.
It's like, it's amazing how that works. Just like whenever you're kind of, because I was a little bit.
That was 30 holes over the 2 days. It was a 12th hole. 30 holes over 2 days.
Yeah,
you haven't hit it a groove low or a groove high. Like you've hit it out the centre of the club all day, and then all of a sudden I see that you just shank one.
It's why golf is the most mental game of any of the games, because it's like if you want newsflash, if you want to get in my head, just tell me how great I'm playing right now, and then all of a sudden be like, oh my god, I am playing well. Then I get all these other thoughts in my head. Like this is basically tournament golf for me in a nutshell. Like getting in my own head. If I'm like under par or like playing well, I'm like, oh my god, I can't keep this up. Like what?
It's obvious that you get in your own head close to the green chipping wedges. That seems to be the time that you're.
Especially in Florida. Especially in Florida, because again, Bermuda grass and sort of grainy Bermuda is just it's my white whale. It's something that I have a really hard time with. Like I think I've gotten a lot better, because it used to be when I lived in Florida, it was like a complete disaster for a couple of years. But it's definitely improved. I struggle with sort of grainy Bermuda greens too, just because I never take the grain into account. Like I get the speed messed up. Like I just, if I can put on fescue or bent greens or like any of that stuff, I'm just way way better. So, and unfortunately, look, we played a bunch of. It's Florida. It's going to be a bunch of Bermuda grass, and that's just how it is. And it's part of the reason why I don't live there anymore. So,
Well,
it's very
I
low on
love
the
it.
list of reasons why I don't live there. But
I love
another
it.
story.
I love that. I love that it can piss it down for like 3 hours. 20 minutes of
No,
sun is good to go. It's like the
it's true.
UK on links. But like I love the
That's
Florida
true.
courses. I know you don't have the same opinion, but it's interesting when we talk about the ones we like and don't like, and that you do like a bit more. They do happen to be some of the ones I like more, which is great. Look,
Yeah, yeah,
Jay and I'll play loads more together. Jay will come over here again this summer, and we'll get out on my course, film something, get out with a few other guys. So that'll be really
yeah.
nice.
Yeah, that'd be
Anyway,
good.
that's enough on our Florida review. That was so self-indulgent. But if you're still with us, shall we talk about Rory and Yas Links and that event? Because at times I think that people, particularly more so you, are very anti anything that isn't live. Now you're not anti anything that isn't live. You've got your issues with the
No,
PGA Tour, but
I love the DP World Tour more than
yeah,
even the PJ Tour because the courses are more interesting to me overall. So that's something that I need to be very clear about because I know a lot of people think that I'm a live homer, and I am in a lot of ways for all the reasons that I've detailed on this podcast for a year and on Twitter for like the last 2.5 years. That being said, the DP World Tour to me is like such a like untapped. I don't say untapped, except the potential of the European Tour. It hasn't been realized since the 90s because the US has done a great job of stripping the European Tour of talent. They're still doing it now. And I think that there's just so many interesting courses throughout the world that the European Tour goes to. And this is like a huge cultural thing, and it taps into like, I'll keep it brief because I've talked about this a lot. It's a huge cultural thing for me. Like, it's so important in professional golf that we go to all of the best courses in the world. You are much more likely to play those courses in global golf than you are here in the United States. Like there's going to be certain courses in the United States that professional golfers never play. They're never going to play Cypress Point. Like they're never going to play Pine Valley. Like they're never going to play courses like that. Except if you look at the top 10 courses in the world that aren't in the United States, they're virtually all on the pro golf calendar. Like they
in
all
some
are.
way,
Like
yeah.
yeah, like Royal County Down and like, St. Andrews, obviously, Royal Melbourne, like all these courses are on the that calendar. Yas Links is a great course in the Middle East. And like all the best courses from these various countries around the world are part of the European Tour. They're part of the Asian Tour. They're part of Live Golf. Like this is a huge thing for me. And it's part of the reason why I like global golf and sort of the European Tour even more than the PGA Tour.
And what's interesting, what I say interesting, is what I've said this before and I've moaned about it, that I actually have said for a long time. I don't think the US Open should ever be on a course that isn't open to everybody and is a top course. And that's very hard to do, of course, these things. We're not stupid. You can't just find the greatest course and all be open to everybody. Life doesn't quite work like that.
Yeah.
But I think the point you're making is so correct about getting these players on these courses that are accessible and other people can play on, and also the top courses the pros can play on because they're not playing, as you say, on Pine Valley, etc. I think.
And by
I
the way, I'm
think
only mentioning Pine Valley because it's rated high in the United States. It's not. I'm personally not rating it high. Just want to make it clear. But go
yeah,
ahead.
it's for a long time. It's been rated number one, and who knows? I know two people who played it, and they both said it's incredible. But would it be their number one in the world? Probably not. So it's interesting. Different people have different opinions. And I'm not getting into world rankings. Christ, I'm not getting into that. No, that's not for today. Because there's if you want to talk about world rankings, OWGR being corrupt, don't pay too close attention to two of the people that sit on the board that rank the world golf courses, and if they do or do not work for the Cabot group.
Oh yeah, I was actually just looking at the top 10, and I know Royal County Down that I have lauded is number one on the Golf Digest top 100 greatest courses.
There was a couple of people saying to me about the different people that are on these different groups that rank the world courses, and some of them do and don't work for different groups that own different courses.
Mm-hmm.
Well, quite obviously, if you work for someone who you can't be on the. This stuff shouldn't be. Stuff shouldn't need to be said. Or it shouldn't need to be said that if you work for a golf course group owner, you can't also vote on the best course in the world. But anyway,
there's corruption everywhere in golf. There just is. And I mean, look, there's corruption everywhere. There's corruption in politics. There's corruption.
No, there isn't.
Just
no.
everywhere.
Have we found out where those 20 million votes went? Anyone found out where they've gone? Oh, that's a different topic. Right. I'm definitely not getting into that.
Try not to get too political, but it is
on the thing of Yas links. I think that a lot of people. I don't feel this way. I do perceive others when I talk to them to sometimes feel this way. They took Dubai courses and the Emirates courses and some of the Saudi courses and others a little bit like, oh, they just picked him up and got all the money. Well, they just put him down and they got. Doesn't mean they're not very good.
Yeah, they're excellent.
I think this whole, they just picked it up. It's new courses. They're not 300 years old. They weren't laid out by old Tom Morris. They weren't. Alistair Mackenzie didn't go around and tinker with them. That somehow that makes them worse.
Yeah,
I've played in a couple of Donald Ross courses. I've played in a couple of Alistair Mackenzie courses that aren't great. Yes, they've made a lot of amazing courses, but just because the course isn't 50, 60, 70, 80, 150 years old doesn't make it not great. And I think that what I've seen the last year, maybe year and a half, and maybe this is a LIV PGA Tour thing, which has seen more people maybe paying a bit more attention to the DP World Tour because they're fed up with the politics over there. And the DP World Tour is shown really well in the UK. Is how well regarded these courses now are. And the love for Yas links, the love for the course in Abu Dhabi, it's growing and growing all the time. And I think finally they may be getting the credit they deserve.
Yeah, completely agree. Like, I think that, it's funny you bring up the point about newer courses. Like, it's something that I hear all the time. And some of the best courses here in the United States, I look at Bandon Dunes, which is I call it probably one of my top 5 to 10 courses that I played in the United States. It was built in 1999 and it's only 25 years old and it is so good. Bandon Dunes to me is my favorite course of the rotation there. I've played it a couple times, and look, there's certain courses that definitely have more of a spirit to it, kind of like the old course, obviously, which is always going to be number one on my bucket list. Still haven't played it yet. Except all of the history of St. Andrews and all that stuff definitely goes into the course, because if you pick up that course and you put it someplace else, it's definitely not as good. Like, it's got to be in the middle of St. Andrews. It's got to have the town in the background. There's definitely something to that. Like, there's definitely a reason why those courses are as highly regarded as they are. Except that doesn't mean that you can't have new courses that develop the same type of history, and all that takes is a little bit of time, a little bit of tweaking to the course, more professionals going to play it, more people starting to see it on TV, and certain courses show really well, like Yas Links, Royal County Down, Royal Portrush, where they have in the Open Championship next year. All those show really, really well on TV. So Emirates, where they go to Dubai, Riyadh Golf Club in a lot of ways too, where they're having, they just had the Aramco Team Series for the ladies. They're having the promotions event. They're having Saudi International. They're having LIV Riyadh next year. I think that one shows really well too. So I think that people just need to be able to take everything into account when you're grading a course and sort of being able to rank it. And there's just... it's so subjective in a lot of ways. Certain people are going to rate history higher. Some people are going to rate the actual experience of the course and the difficulty and the vistas. I'm really big on vistas. It's really important to me. So yeah, it's just such a subjective thing.
It's why I think that when you play Castle Stewart, I think that will become one of your top 3 courses in the world immediately because of vistas. I think it's just gonna,
I've seen it on TV.
You're just gonna struggle emotionally not to almost cry. It's so good. It's so good. It's just awe inspiring, the views.
Views and vistas speak to me. It's part of the reason why Cypress Point is my favorite golf course in the world. It's part of the reason why Pebble Beach is in the top 3. It's part of the reason why Royal County Down, even though I haven't played it yet, just looks amazing to me on TV. Like, that's something that speaks to me as a golfer. And it always has, like that, and the type of turf, and what championships that it's had, and all that other stuff, all the history, and then also where is it now in sort of the grand scheme of pro golf and golf, like weighing all those things. Like, we're all going to have different opinions and lists, and that's why it's such a cool thing to do. People should not take these lists as the Bible. Like, when I hear people say, oh, they want to play all the top 100 golf courses in the world, it's like,
chill.
I mean, are you going by the Golf Digest list? Like, are you going by golf.com? Or are you going by some of these other subjective ones? Like, I mean, there's just so many lists out there. So I
tell you a list I really love in the UK. And again, it can be subjective. I tell you which one I really love. I think it's Golf Monthly. Monthly. If it's not, I apologise. They do a best courses in the UK under £40.
Oh, nice.
And they do a best course in the UK under like £60. So which are the best? And that's a fantastic. So you want to go tick off a few, and they rank them top 100, and they sort of geographically base them so you can see. That's a really good list. If you get hold of that and you're in the UK, that's a good bit of fun. Go and tick them off, because you're not getting any golf anywhere. And that's blasting on Florida. They know how to charge for golf there. It's insane.
Yeah.
The cost for golf is so inaccessible financially in America. It's insane.
Yeah, Florida, they do kind of take advantage of the tourists a little bit too. Let's be honest. Like, everything around Disney and everything is a little bit overpriced.
Claremont wasn't. Claremont was good price.
No, Claremont was fine, but it's also off of the beaten path a little bit. Like, you wouldn't really know about it unless you know locals. So it's like things like that people need to keep in mind. And for me, like, my favorite course in Florida is probably Bay Hill. And part of the reason why it's Bay Hill is because of the grass, because of the tradition, because I've played it. I really, really like the layout. There's a lot of things that have happened on the course. Obviously, Tigers won there, 7, 8 times. So, and I have very clear visions of that golf course, and just that turf is just like, you don't find that at every place in Florida. So anyway, I could talk about turf and sort of my preferences when it comes to golf all the time. But going back to Yas Links, like, I think it was a really great tournament. Like, it, it played a little bit easier just because there wasn't a lot of wind, which is just kind of typical of like any links course, even though it's not like a true links, but it's called Yas Links. So, it's definitely impacted by the wind, and it was pretty calm. But that's part of the reason why I'm wearing the Legion hats to support Terrell Hatton. Anytime a LIV player does something good outside of LIV, I'm going to support it, because these guys have just been the amount of negativity they've had to face and sort of headwinds in the golf media is just extreme. So I want to shout them out and support them anytime they do something good outside of LIV. Shout out Terrell Hatton. Came up a couple shots short to Paul Waring, but shout out to him too. I mean, he's kind of a journeyman. He's 39 years old, playing some of his best golf in his career. His words. So
yeah, well,
great event.
He picked up a 7th place in October in the Spanish Open, Spanish Masters. Like, incredible. Like, the guy's been playing really well, and as a journeyman, and now has just probably got his biggest payday of his career, and congratulations to him.
It's got to be.
I just want to have one quick comment about Rory.
Oh.
He said, I'm going to go away, work on my game, work on a couple of swing changes. They look really good. They look really good.
He did.
He somehow added distance and control. And the biggest, look, everyone knows I think Rory's a fantastic golfer. I've said I didn't like it when he was very anti-live before. I've accepted his apology, as have many people, and he's now saying some of the more sort of sensible things from that side of the argument.
Got some very interesting comments that we'll get to, but yeah.
Yeah, but he's gone away, and the one part of his game which has been weak, and look, Butch brought it up, didn't he? Butch brought up at the Masters. Rory has an inability to really control a 9-iron pitching wedge and maybe a gap wedge, whatever Rory's playing in those different degrees. He's struggled with length, and if you're hitting the ball to 40-foot proximity on average and not a 30-foot proximity, you are going to make more putts and you are going to score worse. But if you look at, he played very well this week, and what was really encouraging for me, because I'd love to see him win another major, and I'd love to see him win the Masters. I'd love him to get the Grand Slam. I'd love him to get them all. Your wedge play's got to be phenomenal, and the wedge play looks better and better.
It's definitely looking better. He shot a final round 64, which is whenever you can save your best for the final round, it's always kind of an indicator. He was a little bit too far back to like really threaten the lead. He wound up losing by 3 shots. Except look, for Rory, I've said it before, I'll say it again. It all comes down to 2 things with him. Like, yeah, I totally understand the wedge shots, and the wedge game is really, really important. I still think with him, it's the mental side of things, and it's putting. It's the thing, especially short putts. I'm still not convinced, and I know TaylorMade's going to hate me for this, but I gotta speak the truth. I still think that him and that spider putter that he has is just not the right match. I just feel like if he would move away, I know TaylorMade's really going to hate this. If he would move away from TaylorMade putters, like there are so many other putters out there that I think would really fit his game. Like even if it's just like a switch for a year where he does a lab putter or something like that. Like I think that could be the difference. Like I've said this to a million people. If he had a lab putter, he would have made those putts at Pinehurst and probably would have won the U.S. Open.
I was saying the ping. I have myself on mute. The ping PLDs. You look how many of the top putters in the world seem to use one of 3. They use either Scotty, because they're don't get me started on those things. They're massively overpriced and no different to anything else. And the ping PLD putter range, where they get all that different type of science in it for different type of strokes, and lab. Go and get yourself a lab putter. Go and get yourself a ping PLD. Obviously can't go to ping because of his deal with TaylorMade, but he could probably go and get a Scotty, or go and get a lab, I would have thought, and just go and make a change.
Yeah, and it's part of the reason why I have been just on this block where, look, if Rory wanted to make a particular deal, let's just call it what it is, a very, very lucrative deal that would see him play on a alternate tour than the PGA Tour, and maybe he loses a little bit of endorsement money from TaylorMade, but he makes up for it with all the extra cash that he currently has on the table. It would free him up where he wouldn't be restricted to play particular equipment. He could play another putter. He could experiment with other things. He could try other things. And like, that could be the difference because there are so many players that like, if they had just made a change earlier on in their career, they could have won more majors or won more golf tournaments. Like it's something that like every player needs to like really, really think about, even though they might have loyalty to a particular company or to a particular club, particular putter, whatever it is. It's like, if you're just open-minded, trying new things, and like you find the right thing, it's like Bryson with the crank driver. No one on God's green earth was like trying to push Bryson to use a crank driver, but he going to LIV, he was all of a sudden totally freed up to try other things. He got that crank driver, all of a sudden confidence clicked. Shoots 58, wins the US Open this past year. Like those are the things that like every player needs to start thinking about. Like, oh my God, if I try these other things, like it might just change my whole vibe, and like all of a sudden find you winning.
And we've seen that with players playing different bits and bobs, and Brooks was playing a bit of a mixed bag, and Bryson's played a bit of a mixed bag, and
Yep.
and and obviously Bryson's got his own 3D printed irons with roll and bowls. Like
He's got a new driver coming out next year too with LA Golf. It's going to be interesting.
is that an LA Golf and Crank combined thing? LA Golf
Apparently,
shaft?
it's going to be through LA Golf. Like he's, I don't know if it's going to be Crank affiliated. Like it sounds like it's going to be because LA Golf doesn't have any drivers currently out. It sounds like 2025. Through the sort of testing he's doing, it's going to be like a brand new driver. So we'll have to see.
Interesting. Well,
Yeah.
let's talk about Rory's comments.
Yeah.
Let's do the tongue-in-cheek one first about Trump could solve everything and he's got Elon with him. You've been very open and very public about your stance on this election. And for anyone who wants to go and see, Jay's said that not who he voted for, but what he wasn't voting for. And
Correct.
you can read between the lines and what you want there. But what I would say is that the comment about Trump and a comment about Elon Musk,
Yep.
as tongue-in-cheek as it might be, or as serious as it might be, it does go to show something very interesting / important / however you want to phrase it, that we're actually living in a world where Rory just seemed bored that it's not done, didn't he?
Yes, for sure.
It
No, he's
just
been bored
seemed-
about this for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, but very openly bored it wasn't done. And I just can't help but get more in this mindset I've been in, where I said, if there isn't a deal where there's no world golf, and they come together, there isn't a deal. I've said for ages, PGA Tour don't want to have the DP World Tour financially as a financial noose around their neck, and the DP World Tour, the PGA Tour haven't got enough money anyway. They're burning through that 1.5 billion at a rate of knots.
Oh my God.
Where's that going?
Yep.
Issues with more TV companies coming, not wanting to pay the same amount. Issues with sponsors walking away from tours. They're going to have a big issue coming up now with this. Are they going to fine Rory and Scotty? If not, they've got to let everyone go and do it. But they've got huge issues. I can't see past one or two things happening. The PGA Tour having to give in pretty quick because they know the money's on the table and they're struggling. Or the other one being, as I've said so many times, and I know that you love the idea, the DP World Tour kind of being acquired by LIV. Mm-hmm. Maybe they get to acquire Rory at the same time, and Rory can be the face of DP World Tour for a year before he goes over to LIV to save a bit of face, however it might be. That just seems to be like a really logical thing to happen, and it makes sense for everyone if the PGA Tour don't want to play ball. So, firstly, that idea, and secondly, on Rory's sort of little tongue-in-cheek comment about Trump can solve it.
Yeah, I think the Rory thing, people really need to sort of pay attention to what he's been saying in the media for 6, 7, 8, 9 months. Like, I mean, he's been very consistent about this. I think there's been a lot of people with their heads buried in the sand. He has been promoting the European Tour a lot. If you look at his press conference at the Abu Dhabi Championship, the Yas Links tournament, he talked for probably 20, 25 minutes. He did not mention the PGA Tour a single time. I went back and watched that, and like he never mentioned the PGA Tour by name, not once. He was promoting how important it is for the European Tour to sort of to build itself back up. He talks a lot about the sort of golden age of the European Tour in the 80s and 90s. There was a reporter, I think it was Corrigan, that sort of asked him about the European Tour now and like the way the schedule works and how like later in the season is like a really good time for the European Tour to shine. And he rebuffed that. He was like, yeah, it's good to have this like period of calendar, except the European Tour deserves much, much more than that. And that I think is a really important peek into his psyche and his makeup. Like I've said it for a really long time. Rory McIlroy coming back and playing more European Tour events completely flips the balance of power in the golf world from this sort of US-centric model to a global model. Because if he's playing more in the European Tour, he can also free himself to play up in LIV events. He even said it in this press conference. He was like, hey, I'm going to be cutting back my PGA Tour schedule He's eliminating a bunch of tournaments.
It's almost like he would like to become the poster boy for DP World Tour's resurgence, maybe
Yes.
getting a few live players to come and play some more DP World Tour events to help him build
Yes.
the DP World Tour back up, and maybe
Yes.
transition himself to go and play in a couple of events, maybe play in 2 or 3 or 4 next year, and dip his toe in the water, having been the DP World Tour. And it almost could be, just imagine the opportunity where LIV or PIF buy the DP World Tour, and along with that, they buy Rory as the poster boy and can pay him a lot of money to be that poster boy. That would
Yes.
be something that is quite obvious, people. Let's look at what's going on.
Look, Rory has been really big on this sort of global golf. Like there are two players that are head and shoulders above everybody else in terms of players in their prime that are about growing the game globally. It's Bryson and Rory. Those are the two guys that are going to be the poster children for sort of growing golf globally moving forward for the next, 5, 10, 15 years. I think that this is really important to Rory. I think that he sees the PJ Tour as a model that's not growing. And like playing in these events that he's been loyal to that he's now dropping. Like he's dropping Cognizant, which was the Honda. He's dropping the Valero Texas Open, the Heritage, the FedEx St. Jude. Like those tournaments are not growing the game of golf. They're just not. Let's just call a spade a spade. And I think eliminating more
Well,
PJ Tour
also they're
events.
also not growing it, Jay, when they're cutting down. When now the PGA Tour have announced the cutback of the tour cards.
Yeah, number of tour cards. They're cutting the field sizes.
Yeah,
It's a product. We've been saying this for a full year at this point. Like the PJ Tour is a bloated product. The footprint needed to be reduced. It's just what it is. I mean, golf in the United States is kind of a little bit stagnant. There's a couple things that they can do, but they're not going to do it. So the whole potential in golf moving forward, I think, for the next few decades is globally. So if you want to grow golf, like you have to play globally. Like that's just the reality of the situation. There's no better person to do that than Rory McIlroy. He is the guy that can do. He's already proven he plays throughout the world. He will play golf anywhere. And I think that like he plays in the Middle East a ton. Like he plays in Dubai. Like he's played. He used to live in Dubai for like 4 years at the early part of his career. UAE was a huge sponsor of his, early on in his career.
He's having his huge house on the Wentworth property finished at the moment. Like it'll be
Yep.
finished. It'll be finished next. If it's not already finished, it's only a month or two away from being finished.
Mm-hmm.
With his
Which
huge underground golf bunkers and golf greens,
yes,
and he's having his whole thing. He's not building all of this, and it's a massive property.
yeah,
He's not having that built to not be based in the UK and Europe more.
for sure. And like there has been so many European tour players that have said that's been the best part about LIV. They haven't had to relocate to the US. They can stay where they are. Adrian Meronk just talked about that a ton the last few weeks, talked about his LIV experience. He got to stay in UAE where he's lived now for a while. He and his partner are really comfortable there. I know he's a member at the Els Club. There's so many players that are member at the Els Club in Dubai, and he's just really comfortable. And I think Rory's super comfortable with the idea of coming back to Europe, spending more time and sort of cutting back on his schedule in the US and playing globally. This is something that he has been dropping hints for a very long time. So how this nets out is yet to be fully determined. However, I think everybody needs to start thinking about this and start preparing themselves that like it's very much an option for him to sort of be look, maybe there may not be an official world tour. However, there might be this thing called the Rory Tour, which is basically he picks and chooses the sort of 18 to 20 events he wants to play in. And like he gets Bryson to come over, he gets Brooks to play in it, he gets Scotty Scheffler playing it. Like all of a sudden, those events are your world tour. And I think that he would be incentivized to do that. And I think that there's a very large check on the table for him to do that. So, and he could rebuild the European tour and he can go back and live in the UK. Like these are all things that I know are very, very important to him. So, and he could obviously still play in the Ryder Cup and like all these other things. But the legacy of rebuilding the European Tour is something that I know is really important to him. Like he talked about it a lot in his press conference, talking about the importance of like winning the race to Dubai again and trying to set the record for the most amount of of merits won and beating Monty's record and all that. I think Monty won 7 Order of Merits. I think Rory's on maybe 5. This year will be 6. So he's got a couple more to beat him. He's got plenty of time to do it. And I think now's kind of the time where he's dropping hints like, hey, I'm reducing my US schedule. Maybe he reduces it completely. It's TBD. I think that he is going to play more globally, and I think he's going to be financially incentivized.
But is that a thing that we're worried about for Rory? How do I phrase that incorrectly? But is that a thing we want Rory to do for any other reason than we want him to do it? Now, this is what's interesting for me. I feel he truly actually wants to make the European Tour better.
Yes.
And that's why I believe it's important. I don't feel like he wanted to start a simulator golf league in a tent. And I'm not being belittling the event.
Right.
And I'm not saying I won't watch it because I watch golf. I will watch it. But this is my point.
Me too.
But I want Rory to do what he wants to do, because when Rory's motivated and it's what he wants, you get the best version of Rory. Does that make sense?
Oh,
that's what I'm trying to say. I phrased it poorly at the start. We're not going to edit it out. Let me look like an idiot. But my point being is I want him to do it because he wants to do it. And I feel like listening to him talk, and since the change last year where he made it very, very clear that he had no issue with players going to LIV. He shouldn't have said that, this, that, and the other, and how he's been moving with the house being built in Wentworth, relocating to the UK perhaps more, if not all the time. All these different things that are moving along from left and right have all seemed to be towards what he actually wants. And it feels like he's speaking when he talks about the Ryder Cup. He talks about when he talks about the golden age of the European Tour. And he talks about all of this stuff. I feel like this is actually what he does want. And he's out from underneath the
cult. Let's just call it the PGA Tour cult.
No,
it's a cult.
I'm not going there. I'm not going there. You go there. He's out from underneath the influences of certain people that say, hey, be part of the PGA Tour. You can call it a cult. But I think that's maybe a bit harsh. I think maybe he was just under the influence of Tiger and a few other people. And he's now actually, do you know what? Sod it. I've seen that people can go and do what they want to do. I want to go and do what I want to do. And what I really want to do is make the European Tour better. Because he believes in it. He can now go and play 4 majors, 3 or 4 US events, 10 events on the European Tour, and he's done. He can go and play 3 or 4 LIV events if he wants. Who knows? But that for me seems to be what makes more sense.
Yeah, because
and it's what he wants.
Yeah, because his presence anywhere only elevates every event that he's in. Like, yes, there's a lot of Rory haters out there, obviously. I was one of those people. I was one of those people that was hating on Rory because I felt like he was not the last, couple years in this battle with LIV. I didn't think that was really him. And I've said this a million times. He was under the influence of other people. He was basically, he was DUI. He was just, that's just how it was like the last, couple years. And I think that in order for him to play his best golf, and I talk about this mentality of golf all the time, like in order for him to play his best golf mentally, he needs to be in the best place where he's not conflicted. He is unburdened. That's the word that I've been using for like a full year. I think that making these decisions to rebuild the European Tour and sort of really galvanize global golf is like something that would free up it would feed into his golf game. No question about it. And he would win a major within the next 2-3 years. Like I would be willing. I'm not a betting man, obviously, but like I would go out and bet that Rory would win a major in the next couple of years because I feel like that's been his missing thing. Like he's been under the influence of the wrong things the past few years. If he's more of a equipment free agent where he could try new things, that kind of feeds into his mentality, frees up his schedule. Like I just think that this is the chemistry he needs to like get the most out of his game. And I think that that's something that he's actively thinking about. And I think that could be the thing that pushes him to sort of make this choice. And he's already making choices, as we've seen, that are feeding him in this one direction. Like it's very, very clear. So otherwise, he wouldn't be relocating from Florida.
I was just thinking, I'm just bored of the era that I feel we've left, which is people not telling the truth.
Yes.
And saying what they say because other people want to hear it. And I feel like we're leaving that era.
Let's hope so.
I feel like there is far less of that, and let's just get on with it now. And that's I was just thinking, how do I put that? And it's been another long week. Christ, bloody hell.
It feeds into politics too. It really does. It feeds into this whole like cultural change that I feel like we're sort of going through now the last few years. And I think Elon Musk has talked about it a lot in terms of just the integrity of sort of news and media and sort of legacy media needing to be up leveled. I think that Donald Trump's talked about it a lot. I think that everybody on one side of the political fence has been talking about that here in the United States for a while. And I think that like those integrity things are something that I've been beating the drum on this for as long as I can remember. It's part of the reason why there's certain players on the PGA Tour that I dislike. That go back in my tweets, you can figure it out. And we talked about it on this podcast. I feel like everybody, like Jason Day, just came out and talked about his experience with LIV and like how he was like, yeah, he had interest. It didn't work out for these various reasons. It's not because he hates LIV or hates the people that are over there. It was just a business decision. It was something that didn't work out. And like, there's so many golfers that are like that we know through our context have had discussions with LIV and sort of LIV adjacent. And like, these are stories that like need to get out because I think that that's a really important healing thing for the golf world.
I actually really like the honesty from Jason Day, and there's a couple of the players that really could do with just being honest about that. Really are.
1,000%.
It's not our job to out them. Part of me goes, I just want to tell you the names of 5 people I know. I've begged for offers. I've shaken hands with Greg on an offer and then got off the boat and then changed their mind and gone back to Ireland, but it's not Rory. There's people I just want to make it really clear that they've been right up close and the last minute done it. There's other people I want to, it's not my job to out them, but it's...
No, but maybe he finished tied 13th at this latest tournament at Yas Links. Like, and maybe there's other people that finished tied 13th that are probably going to be playing on LIV next year. I don't. Could be. So maybe people need to make.
You're not speaking to his detriment, are you?
Oh man.
There's other players, I'm just. Do you know what? I'm in that mood where I could just go, hey, 7 names. I know.
I almost feel like we need to just like start tweeting out a name a week until this deal is done, just to like start like chumming the waters a little bit. But
there's a player, right? Oh, just the story I'm thinking about, where that player went to the other player's house and begged to go on LIV and said, "Can we put something together?" And then there's also been negative publicly to LIV having. It just grinds my gears. Oh.
I know it does.
But I can't say it. I can't. Just
Look,
really
these stories. I know people get upset with us when we don't give names. All these stories are going to come out at some point. Like, just trust us on this. So
as soon as I can say that person's name, I am going. Do you know what? Even if you're not available, you could be asleep. I'm just going to turn this on and submit it and put it straight and download it. Put it like a 3-minute podcast of me just blowing out that bloke's name. Anyway, right. I'm going to go to bed. It's 20 to 11 here. Thank you to everyone. So we've got a couple of good things that are coming out. So we have got a Matt Wolf interview coming out. That'll be on YouTube as a video. We have got a fantastic interview with Claude Harmon. That will be coming out. What else have we got? Oh my God. We got the Wade Ormsby lesson.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's right.
Me. We got to win. That's incredible. Yeah. You've got to edit the first bit where it's just me and Wade chatting for like 2 minutes and then we go into it. But everything else is superb. Yeah. So that's to come out.
Yeah. I've also got, just because I ran a poll because people were asking me about my what's in my bag. I never thought that people would like want to know what's in my golf bag, but apparently enough people do. So I'm probably going to film of what's in the bag with like the equipment that I'm currently playing. Kind of talk about a couple things that I probably want to look at switching out in 2025. Some things that we're sort of working on behind the scenes where I might be able to replace those.
I cannot currently do what's in the bag based on what I'm going to be doing, so I can't do it.
Okay, fair.
That wouldn't be fair, would it? That wouldn't be right.
Look, we're free to do whatever we want now, but yeah, there's definitely a couple things I want to get out there.
We are, but I'm not that guy who's going to send everyone one way and then go another.
Well, yeah, look, I mean, it's something that I've talked about a lot. I've been really big on TaylorMade for virtually my entire golfing life. Like my first set of clubs was a TaylorMade set in the late 90s. So burner bubbles that I had, and I've been loyal to TaylorMade. I won a contest with TaylorMade. It took me to the UK. I played a lot of golf, got some free equipment, free stuff, made a lot of great relationships. That's kind of changed a little bit, obviously, just with everything that's going on in the pro golf world. And I just feel like it's time, like, to try out some new things and just sort of see what works. So you'll see, people will see I'm very heavily TaylorMade in my bag.
Well, I tell you what I will do. We all say goodbye, but I will leave everybody with a quote from Jerry Foltz about me being sponsored by a golf manufacturer. Having seen you play up close, Ben, I'd pay you not to play my gear. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I think it is time to say goodnight. I love you all. Jay, I love you to bits, brother. Speak to you soon.
Same.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.